Hello, this is Chuck Solomon, and welcome to the Candidate Experience Podcast, where we focus on the job candidate journey from apply to onboard and the space in between. Let's get started. You care about the candidate experience, but have you ever wondered exactly how to bring your company to that next level and offer a world-class experience to your candidates? It's not easy. Fortunately, Candidate.fyi can help. Their solution guides candidates through your hiring journey, enhancing transparency and communication at every touch point. You'll also gain valuable insights on what's working and what's not with your hiring process. Best of all, it integrates directly with your ATS. Head on over to Candidate.fyi and see how to transform your company's candidate experience today. Welcome to the Goldfish Have Longer Attention Spans Than Humans episode. My guest, James Marable, shares his insights into enhancing the candidate experience at the pre-apply and apply stages of the candidate journey. Pay close attention to what he shares about setting up for large-scale hiring events, as well as how to communicate what life is like working at his company. If you like what you hear on this podcast, please subscribe and do share with others. Want to comment, discuss, or provide feedback, you can send me a note via LinkedIn or via the contact form on our website, thecx.xyz. Thanks for listening, and here's my interview.
Okay, let's try this one last time. I grabbed my Ethernet adapter, so we're plugged up, so this should work.
James, let's talk really quickly because we don't know when this call is going to end.
End at any moment.
Thank you. Well, thank you for joining me today. Sorry, I was just leaving you a message on your voicemail, so you can ignore that. So. But thanks for joining me this afternoon.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Sure. So you're the manager of employer branding at Macy's. Do I have your title correct?
Yep, you got it.
Gotcha. Big brand. Did you wake up one day and said, I want to be the manager of employer branding at a company? Like, how did you tell us how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, honestly, I didn't even know employer branding was a thing. I didn't even know anything about TA, to be honest, or recruiting.
Sure.
At the time, or if you go back just a few more years, so after I graduated, I worked for a couple different advertising agencies. So my background is in marketing and advertising.
Sure.
But at a certain point, I actually quit my job as a marketer to open a clothing store. So I had this clothing store that I was running for like 3 years.
Wow.
Well, I ran it for 6 years, 6.5 years, but from 2010 to 2013, and the very beginning, that's all I did full time. But I still kept my LinkedIn up to date, but I wasn't necessarily looking for anything. A recruiter from Macy's, who ended up becoming my first director, reached out, and we just had a really good conversation. And it kind of led to, me getting an offer. And, when I was kind of mulling over the decision and just looking into, what the recruiting space was all about, and just kind of thinking about his vision and how he wanted me to, treat the concept of working like just a product in general, like whether I'm selling shoes, pants, a computer, whatever.
Sure.
Come up with a way to brand the overall experience at Macy's. I believe there were recruiters that were splitting time, trying to figure it out, but they had no, marketing background or business from that perspective. And, he really wanted them to just focus on recruiting 100% of the time and just have me support them from a marketing standpoint. I really wasn't, thinking that I would ever even get back into, working in corporate America. But, it just seemed, like a really good idea, or not a really good idea, just a really good opportunity.
Sure.
Doing social media for a Fortune 100 company. If it didn't work, if I didn't like it, I could always quit. If they don't like me, they could always fire me because I had something else to do. So it wasn't, it wasn't a big, a lot of pressure from my perspective coming into it. But I found it to be, very interesting. And it's one of those spaces where there's just a ton of opportunity. There's a ton of opportunity to learn, to teach, to bring a brand from, no employer brand to, where we are today, where, we're creating all kinds of different pieces of content, touching, many different mediums and platforms.
Sure.
So yeah, I've been doing it for goodness. Yeah, it's 6 years this May. Yeah, I started in May of 2013. Wow. And so,
Wow. So
it's kept me here. Yeah.
quick question. Do you report into the marketing team or to the recruiting HR team?
Recruiting. Yeah, so
Recruiting.
we're separate from the marketing world. TA is based out of Cincinnati right now, or it's always been, I guess. But our marketing function is out of New York. So
Sure.
yeah, we're two different spaces. Literally, when I first started, my very first day, I'll never forget, walking into my director's office and hear him getting cursed out by a marketing person because apparently a recruiter had started this Pinterest page that wasn't well thought out, and the branding was off, and everything was just was off. So when I'm walking in, I learned that day that there was this chasm between
Right.
marketing and the TA group. But over time, I was able to help repair that relationship, and we have a really good working relationship with our marketing group now.
Sure. What would you say? I mean, using that example, what would you say to like a recruiter that wanted to put stuff out there on social media or what have you, just sort of enhance the candidate experience or something? And what would you how would you approach that today to a recruiter that just wanted to post stuff?
Yeah, it's all about just showing what your company has to offer. What does the culture look like? If you just want to start from the simple point of just simply posting jobs to Twitter, for example, you want to have some sort of image. You want to have some sort of graphic. Whether you get with a designer and you're putting words to the text or you're doing some sort of design with it. Just having an image, to go along with your posts. It makes it more interesting, tenfold, more interesting.
Right.
You just really want to create content and that appeals to people, because right now, as a society, we only have 6 seconds of attention span. Goldfish have 8. So whatever you do, you have to catch eyes quickly. If you have a budget and you can do video, then do video. If you don't, just snap photos around office. But if you have budget for a professional photographer, do that. My big suggestion, honestly, is just to make sure that you have something visual to go along with whatever you're trying to convey.
Yeah, or start. You might have better luck recruiting Goldfish for your job,
right?
Since they have a better attention span there.
Right.
So, yeah. How can you give a sense of like how big is your team? Or I mean, if you can say, Chuck, I'm not at liberty to share that, but
no, I'll be totally honest. We have a 4-person team.
Okay.
With our director. She's the director of employer branding as well as our sourcing group. But yeah, then there's myself, and then I have a counterpart who works with our job board relationships. And then I have another counterpart who's more recent that focuses on SEO, SEM, which was a function of what I was doing. But this being an enterprise-wide function, it kind of made me not have time to really, dig into anything, whether it was social or content creation or search. Everything became more executional. So, we had an opportunity to bring someone on board to specialize in a piece of, what I was doing, so we could go deeper into it. So yeah, he focuses strictly on search engine optimization as well as search engine marketing. But yeah,
Gotcha.
Small but mighty team. Yeah, we service the entire organization, from our hourly stores roles to our warehousing group to our call centers to all of our technical roles out in San Francisco and Atlanta, to all of our corporate functions as well. So we're creating this brand that represents a lot of different facets of the company, a lot of different experiences. So yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's definitely rewarding because we're telling a big brand story.
For sure. And a brand that's has been a household name for a long time now too.
Yeah.
How I mean, since you're primarily a B2C company, um, you know, can you talk about I talk about this a lot with others about how, you might have 100 people apply for a job, only one person's going to get that job. And then what do you do with the 99 other people? Like they still took the time to apply. And especially if you're a B2C company, you don't want to sort of tarnish your the customer brand at all. I mean, are you involved in anything, or can you comment on that?
No, honestly, from the perspective of the candidate experience, once they get into the application, that it leaves my hands at that point, honestly.
Gotcha.
So our whole world is around attraction. We definitely consult, with partners on working through the overall candidate experience. Once they apply, once they interview, the response time. If a person doesn't get hired, that communication that goes back to them as well. We definitely consult on that and sometimes provide assets, whether it's some sort of graphic or some sort of verbiage for the email or communication. We definitely work with them on that, but it's definitely not even 2% of our job.
Right. Here's you can relay this and say, this guy, Chuck Solomon, made this suggestion. You can throw it out or not. Or if it's a good suggestion. So if it's a good suggestion, you can take credit for it. If it's a bad one, you can throw me under the bus. But you guys obviously do some sort of coupons or something like that. But I would love to see it that, especially like a consumer brand, that, all the rejected candidates get not just the standard applicant tracking system, sorry, we hired someone else sort of email, but they get like, here's a little offer. Like next time you go on to Macy's.com or visit one of our stores, you get, it's on us, 40% off. I don't know what the offer is.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? It doesn't even have to be a huge offer, but it's like, hey, thanks for taking the time. Here's something. So you can throw that in there. If it's bad, just blame me. If it's good, you owe me a beer. Okay, so you can take the credit.
It's actually good. It's actually good that you brought that up because that's something that actually has been a topic of conversation for a little while.
Good.
For that or against that. And the thinking is, from like the perspective that you brought forward, where it's more of a reward and it's a thank you, for taking the time to interview with us or showing interest within the company. But then at the same time, if the person that's receiving that is more of a glass half empty person, they may see that as a more of a slight, where why are they encouraging me to shop with them, but I'm not good, I'm not qualified enough to work for them. So it's a balance for sure that would have to be struck with something like that, just to make sure that we're not offending anyone, even though that gesture would definitely be coming from the best of places. We want to just make sure it's received as such.
Right. The episode that I'm going to air tomorrow, so that'll be May the 3rd. Yep. This episode with you and today, it'll probably be 2 weeks before I air this, so later in May. But the episode that comes out tomorrow, I talk about the voice of the candidate or the VOC. Mm-hmm. And I've been trying to get like candidates to come in and talk, but the more I talk to them about it, the more it's like, I think if you come on and you're going to sound like a whiner, complainer, and that's not going to go ahead and go very well, because hiring managers want to hire problem solvers, not complainers. And so, but I still hear about these stories, and it's sort of what precipitated me wanting to start this podcast, which I'm my 1 month anniversary is in May here, so I'm only a month into this, but candidates have told me that because the candidate experience was so poor, and it was not with your company, but with other companies, but still sizable companies that you would expect not to be a bad experience, that they are actually no longer consumers of that brand anymore.
Yeah.
Like, so not only did the person not get hired, but the experience was so poor that they're moving on. And they can avoid, like, I've had a few people that say this to me, like they've moved on. They're like, I used to be a customer, now I'm no longer a customer, and it wasn't just their experience, but they've heard about, there's a lot of transparency now. People share, and they tend to share bad stuff. So they hear about like the bad experience their friend or cousin had with so and so company, and they're like, "Oh, I'm not going to buy that's the way they treat people. I'm not going to go frequent their store anymore." So
right, and it snowballs, even though they didn't even experience it. They just heard it, and it gets worse. And with I think
you're right.
When someone's in that process, recruiters or recruitment organizations really should focus on that, because I've had terrible experiences as well, just where there's lack of communication or timeliness, not hearing back either way, on a roll, things like that. That can definitely turn someone off, and you have to be as mindful as possible to make sure that you're making these candidates as comfortable and as comfortable as possible.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm not sure if anyone's measuring this, but I think someone should measure this, is to really measure the economic impact to sales revenue, and correlate it to the candidate experience as well. I won't give that project to you, but
thank you.
you have I bet you have enough on your plate as it is, but I think someone should really actually look at it, because if that's the case, and I believe there is a business case to be made for that, then CEOs and the other members of the C-suite are going to start looking at this and start thinking, maybe we should invest a little bit more into this, and how can we improve this? So, anyways, good stuff. I had another question for you, James. Like, how does it work? So there's a position open in, I don't know, you're trying to hire salespeople in Poughkeepsie, New York, or wherever, and do they contact you and say, "Hey, we need some help with this," or how does that work?
It depends on the role,
Sure.
or the types of roles. So whether if it's coming from a store's perspective, warehouse perspective, in the hourly space, or if it's a corporate job that's that's salary, that's depending on the industry as well, because we hire auditors, finance people, technical people, merchandisers, marketers, you name the type of job, we probably have a job for it.
Sure.
So it depends. So like, let's just say from in the volume space, if we're having hiring events in our store, so a lot of times we do these monthly hiring events. Our next one is actually May 16th.
Okay. Where is it? What city?
Pretty much every location is going to have a hiring event on that day.
On the 16th. Okay.
On the 16th. So when we have those dates, what we do is we create a library of content, so to speak.
Okay.
And then we'll run social media ads. We'll run search engine marketing. So we'll get our keywords together. We'll work with AdWords and work on that. We'll feature jobs, or we'll feature all of those roles on an Indeed or a Snag a Job, and just kind of work through all of those digital platforms, as well as arming our locations with collateral, flyers or posters that go up in the actual locations. Now, when it comes to something that's a little bit more specialized, let's say a data scientist, for example, that's the buzzword right now for across industries.
There's a million of those out there. Sure.
So if we're looking for that, then we want to go a little bit more deep. So maybe we go and interview a data scientist that actually works here that can speak to what his work looks like. Why he or she would choose to work for a Macy's versus doing it at at an Amazon or at a Facebook or wherever else. Why Macy's was the fit for them, or we create some sort of graphic that kind of speaks to the nature of the work. So it's honestly, it's tailored towards the position or the type of work. But all in all, we're still trying to show and depict what the actual work looks like and what a person's life could look like. So even in those mass, social media ads that we may be running for, an hourly sales position or sales or hiring event for a sales position, we're still showing imagery of individuals at work in these stores, in these locations, pointing them towards videos that that exist around what it means to work here at Macy's. That's usually how we do it. The communication or the requests just kind of come from the business on the whole. So it's not necessarily one specific recruiter that'll send me this email. We'll know what's coming down the pipe. Working with leadership in those various groups to put together content to support.
Right. It's not a surprise. Hey, James, we need to hire 14 data scientists. And oh, by the way, they needed to start last Friday.
Yeah, from that perspective, a data scientist, for example, no, we'll know ahead of time. But then sometimes, there are just needs. Being a retail organization, when we're thinking about our hourly roles, there's just a lot of turnover. It's just the nature of it. Whether you're working in a warehouse, you're working in a call center, you're working in a store, there's all kinds of reasons why people, choose to take or to work in an hourly job. And sometimes it's a second job. Sometimes, it's their full-time job. Sometimes they get a better offer somewhere else. There's a lot of turnover. So, let's just say a location, a warehouse, for example, that, has thousands of workers, they have turnover of 50 people. Well, 50 is a big number when you think of it as, just as a person, but out of a big warehouse, that's actually not that many people, but we still need to hire, we still need to fill that. So that'll come down and we'll start working on it right away and try and get those roles filled.
Gotcha. Good stuff there. Is there one tool that you use in your day-to-day work that you couldn't live without?
One tool
or two. You can pick two if you want, but like if your manager came to you and said, "We got to do some cutbacks here on things here," so you pick the thing. You can only keep one or two things left, and otherwise it's gone. Because
I need my social media management tool. And Photoshop. those are probably like the two most important things for me. I need to be able to, I need to be able to do my social listening. I need to be able to schedule my posts.
Right.
I need to, look at analytics for the posts that we're making. And then I also, need to be able to create graphics. Now we have designers that we work with. We have agencies that we work with to create for us. But sometimes if we're in a pinch, I have again, having a background in marketing and I also have a background in design as well. I'll get in there and do it myself. If we don't have time, to wait on, a designer to do it, or if there's no budget to do something really quick, I jump in there and do it myself. So definitely need Photoshop, definitely need a social media management tool.
Gotcha.
Take your pick.
No, those are good. I thought you were going to say my pen.
I rarely write anything down.
I hear you. That's why I do podcasts, so I can record things and listen to it later. So James, I appreciate your time today. If people wanted to connect with you after this, how would they do so?
J Marable on Twitter. That's a great way to connect with me. I'm on there pretty often.
Sure.
Trying to think. LinkedIn, same way we connected. James Marable on LinkedIn. Look me up. Let's connect.
Gotcha. And where will you be on the May 16th date where you're doing the big hiring event? Do you get to travel around or you're staying put?
On for this hiring event specifically, I'll be here. I'll be in the office, just kind of watching my emails, making sure nothing comes up. If
Right.
if there's anything that we need to address, I'm usually here. But I do travel a lot. I do, I get to go to locations if it's, if there's a need. But for this, our stores, they've got it handled. We've been doing this for 3 years now, so it's pretty turnkey.
Gotcha. If you're ever in North Carolina, look me up or let me know ahead of time. So
Yeah, hey, you really might hear from me. I have family there, so
oh, perfect.
might have to stop by.
I live in the Triangle area, Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill. Our Hurricanes, hopefully when this airs, they'll still be in the in the hunt for the Stanley Cup. But they just won last night. They're up 3-0 to the New York Islanders, and it is deafening. I heard people that went to the game, and I actually watched part of the end of the game. It is deafening. Like you could not hear the announcers speak. It was so loud in there. Yeah.
Wow.
Loud place.
That's great energy.
Yep, exactly. And that's part of the reason why they're up 3-0 in a best of 7 series. So
yeah.
James, thanks for your time today.
Oh no, thanks for having me.
Great. We'll talk soon.
All right.
Thanks for listening to the Candidate Experience podcast. You can reach out to us via our website, thecx.xyz. That's thecx.xyz.